And we continue now with our great American panel. All right, he's been president, what, 18 months now? How many? You're better at math than me. Finally, Jeb Bush has said something that I've been saying for a long time. When is this president going to stop blaming George W. Bush for every problem he has? Jeb Bush in the New York Times, he also said this, which I like and enjoyed as well. He said, by and large, I think the president, instead of being a 21st century leader, is Hubert Humphrey on steroids. I don't think there's much newness in spending more money as the solution to every problem. And he also said, stop blaming my brother. Grow up. There's a level of immaturity here. You were sort of referring to that earlier.
I think he has not been gracious to a single opponent. I think he's the least gracious president we've had in the Oval Office for a long time. George Bush was defined by his graciousness towards those who opposed him. He was a good political infighter, but he was not this mean-spirited and this thin-skinned. And I think President Obama's maturity gap to the previous guy is growing.
Yeah.
You know, I found that article interesting in the New York Times because it has Jeb Bush president written all over it. Is this man going to run? He keeps saying no, 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 the way David Petraeus says no, 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 I'm not going to run. What is it about no you don't understand? And yet everything points to Jeb Bush as perhaps the next Republican contender.
But there's a level of immaturity in this president. You know, this is like with General McChrystal, as far as I can say, the first time in his life he didn't vote president. He still hasn't gotten it in the Gulf oil spill. You're laughing. He still hasn't gotten it in the Gulf oil spill.
Well, he's, you know, I just think he's a weak commander. You talk about, you know, how he blames George Bush. You see the situation with the Gulf oil spill. Now, he spent 13 days before he ever went down there. I mean, he's let the thing go by. We talk about George Bush and what he did in the aftermath of Katrina. Like, people were blaming him for the actual hurricane.
3 days.
Yes.
3 days, they was excoriated.
And here we have a man-made problem with this oil spill, and yet we don't hear much backlash from the media at all.
You see, 132 days out of this election, when that oil hits shore in larger quantities and then more beaches as it extends around the coast of Florida, potentially if the riptide gets it and takes it up the, not riptide, what's it called? The tide takes it up the eastern seaboard. It's going to
Gulf Stream.
The Gulf Stream, okay. All right, we have Obama's energy secretary once said that BP will help save the world. Let's roll this tape.
There's been a lot of excitement that's been growing over the last several years, and now with partnering with BP, we will have the resources to actually carry out some of the things we want to do in order to help save the world.
And so how are we going to save the world?
Well, we're going to save the world in part by doing something about the energy problem, and this impacts national security, this impacts economic prosperity, and most important for me, this impacts stewardship of the environment.
Oops. Reaction?
Well, I just want to know if Obama had given back the $900,000 that he took in the campaign from BP. I don't know if he did.
Largest recipient of BP money in 20 years.
Yeah. So you'd think that he gave the money back. It'd be interesting to find out if he did that or if he in fact used it.
I think he's going to give it back as soon as he gives back the Goldman Sachs money.
Look, come on. Every Republican and Democratic president has been in the tank to the oil industry.
Excuse me,
we cannot get ourselves away from big oil. Let's not pretend that this is just one administration.
Obama regulators, Hugh, you know what? They had a cozy relationship. They were receiving gifts. They didn't do the proper inspections. You know,
and they still continue to fail. Just yesterday, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service stopped the construction of the berms in Louisiana because they didn't like the calculation. The president is in charge of the executive branch. They are not doing all they can to keep that oil offshore, and it's not BP's fault that berm isn't being built. It's the president's fault.
What is the political fallout in the midterm?
It's disastrous, and I think that Nancy Pelosi knows it. Today she was putting out the alert. It is going to be a tsunami because people do not like the direction he's taking.
She goes, don't worry about the subpoenas that are coming. Quick.
Why don't they waive the Jones Act and let the people come in? We've had 21 different times that we were offered from 17 different countries, and yet there's no aid there.
Guys, great panel tonight. Honestly, appreciate it, except for Judith. All right, that is all the time we have left. As always, thank you for being